Well, welcome to our
Hi, I'm Rick
commentary
Steves,
track for
back
the
with
Holy
more
Land,
travels.
Israelis
This
and
time, we're
Palestinians.
exploring
Today's
the Holy
special. I'm Rick
Land,
Steves.
Israel and
And I'm
Palestine.
Simon Griffith. I'm the producer of Rick Shows, and we've done almost 100 shows together.
100 shows. Ow, wow. We've done like 5 or 6 of these specials and 100 of the half-hour episodes.
Now,
And this is a unique sort of open for this show, isn't it?
yeah, this open is the one thing that we went out of house for, and we tried to balance it in terms of images and language, the words, and we just tried to end with some images that would give some sense of hope for this beautiful land we call the Holy Land.
No shortage of images there. We spent about 2 weeks filming over there, and this is the opening, what we call the on-camera open. It's there's a tease, which we always start with, that keeps people's interest, but this is where we really kind of set it up, isn't it?
Yeah, this is an overview that we actually, as we were doing this, very soon afterwards, we actually got busted. We were in a location that we weren't.
It's the most
supposed to be
touristy
in.
place on the Mount of Olives because it's the best view, but all the tourists were there, and it was some sort of a touristy day. So we found over a fence somebody's rooftop, and we did like 3 on cameras there, didn't we?
Yeah, but eventually they caught us.
Now every show has a montage.
Yeah, when we do the montage, this kind of gives you sets up what we're going to see in the show, and it gives you a little bit of a tease as to the characters you're going to meet, the places you're going to see, and the subjects that we're going to try to cover.
So it's kind of like, hold on to your castanets. We're going to do all this kind of stuff, but we kind of have to have this montage to give you a taste of the fun, because by the nature of the shows, we need to give a historic and sort of context, which is probably the slowest moving part of the show in the beginning, just to set the wide picture, isn't it?
Yeah, it sets you up, and I think that works quite well. So then you sort of eventually when you meet these characters, you sort of you have this cast of characters, and especially in the case
Well,
of
this
the
one
show.
we wanted to get a cast of characters because of the complexity of the material. We needed to have local voices giving different narratives.
And complex is the word you hear again and again.
Even making the map was complex, wasn't it?
This map, we just knew going into it, there's no way you could do this map without making a lot of people
I mean,
angry.
that word right there, Simon, Palestine, we had to, I mean, it was tough because if we wanted to, like, avoid any sort of stress, we would just call it the West Bank. But, you know, we just, we wanted to give both narratives, and I love working with people steep on the learning curve. I didn't know what the Holy Land was, and here it is, between the Mediterranean and the Jordan River.
Yep, we're just trying to explain this very complex land.
When the patriarch or prophet Abraham had 2 sons. From Isaac came the Israelites, and Ishmael spawned the Arabs. This ancient ethnic mix is complicated.
Yeah, as complex as it is, I think it is one of the gifts that you bring, is how you can compress all this complex history into something that's much easier to understand for the viewer.
But this was the complicated thing, because there's so much misunderstanding about the Holy Land, and here we have layers of history, old Rome and different religions and crusader towns like this, and here's the kind of a sweep to give people the context, the lay of the land. But right here, this is the shot we really, and look at how it dissolved to black and white. What a cool thing you and
That was something that our editor, you'll hear about later on, came up with that idea, and I think it's great because it gets you back and takes you back in time into this archival footage, which is also very useful. We use quite a bit of in this show.
This is a cool effect. We're doing a lot of special effects, but look at how that the slow motion, the out of focus, into focus, the compression when you have a zoom.
In 2012, the United Nations recognized Palestine as a state.
That was a statement right there, isn't it? The Palestinian flags. This was a split show. There was a week in Palestine and a week in Israel, and we were writing 2 shows at the same time. Our special 1-hour special, and then our half-hour travel episodes. One on Israel, one on Palestine. Here we know we're in Palestine because I'm wearing my green shirt.
Yeah, that's something you'll notice.
All the green shirts are Palestine. All the blue shirts are Israel.
While the State of Israel was founded just after World War II, the Jewish people have a history here going back 4,000 years. Within a 2-hour drive of Jerusalem, you can take a sweeping tour of sites illustrating its tumultuous back-and-forth past.
And then we wanted to show a little bit of sort of travel loggy stuff as well. It's even though there's a lot of issues that we cover. I mean, there's extraordinary sights to see in this whole part of the world. I mean,
And here we have established Rick. So it's just Rick walk into the shot, just to remind people that we're there together, I think.
yeah.
But even in our Iran show, like the Holy Land show, these were more events and current affairs shows. But we want people to travel there, and that's part of our ethic.
Absolutely. It is so worth traveling to. I mean, the sights are just extraordinary. This is, I can remember, you're sort of like leaning out, and like in quite a few shots in the show, the light is always so important.
The late light and the depth that that wall provided. Oh, I love it.
The Ottoman Turks surrounded Jerusalem with this mighty wall. And the 20th century has left...
So I remember when we did this show, we wanted to be balanced. And when you talk about, already I've joked in the show, I think we've already offended people. We've made enemies on both sides. Certainly didn't intend to, but you can't talk straight and balanced about this without getting some people upset with you. And we ran the show in its rough cut version by experts from both the Israeli and Palestinian sort of perspectives. I love this on camera, and I'm just thinking how nerve-wracking it is now because we got 10 minutes of sun. Look how low the sun is on my face and the warm colors.
And then in addition to that, there was a wedding party going on just
Yes,
behind us.
that's right.
And they're making a racket. They're celebrating their wedding, and we're asking them just to keep it down a little bit while we try to do this pretty serious.
That was a pretty serious deal, yeah.
On camera.
So, but here we got, I was mentioning we wanted to run it by experts, and they would look at this, and, some people didn't want that shown, or some people say, if you show this, you got to show that. I remember one reasonable concern from our Israeli friends was they wanted the Intifada to be seen as more violent than we originally showed it. So we went back to archival footage and got shots that made the Intifada look as terrible as it was.
Yeah, we took feedback really seriously, and I think, and when you look at this archival footage, I think that's the one time where you really realize how important it is to use shots that tell a story. I mean, they're very, very powerful.
So here's where we went back and got some footage of really some of the bloody horrors of the Intifada.
Yeah, and archival footage is, again, extraordinarily powerful, and it's we don't use it in our regular shows very much at all, of course, but in this show, there's no better way to tell the 20th century story.
But you can sure tweak it according to what you might want to have a bias for, so we had to really be careful of that because we didn't want to go there.
Had to be very careful.
Security from terrorism.
The epic stories of the world's three great monotheistic religions have played out on this tiny...
So this is like our third on camera on this little rooftop here, and it just was perfect light. There's the Dome of the Rock, and we had to get a lot of on cameras covered when we had the time, because every day was a scramble just to cover this script.
Every day is a scramble on a Rick Steves shoot anyway.
Yes, we've tried to do a show in less than 6 days. You can't do a half-hour show in less than 6 days, and a one-hour show takes 2 weeks, like this one.
And you have to be careful. On some of these wide shots, at least they don't show a particular either Christian or Jewish or Muslim site. So,
that's true.
Whereas in here,
So now these were examples of permissions. I was impressed, Simon, how we were able to get close to the Western Wall. We're here. Look at how close we are with our camera. And people just ignored us.
yeah, and it feels a little intrusive at times.
And here's that was the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
But we're right there with our cameras. I think people are just so involved in praying
Yeah.
and having, it's so important to so many people.
It was an honor to be there. And then we had to know the right people to ask permission for each of these because this is the most important holy spot right here. This is the Dome of the Rock.
And that is right under the actual altar, which had a lot of scaffolding on it, but it's still, that is the actual...
And that was holy for Muslims, Christians, and Jews. And look at this perch here. And that helps to have a local expert to get you there. They know the viewpoint, and they can talk to the hotelier to let you get up on his rooftop.
Yeah, this is why having good connections is great. I mean, this was
Look at that spot.
through a friend of a friend who our guide, and they got us up, and that's an
Okay.
extraordinary view.
Now I got my thumb hooked in my pocket so I don't nervously wiggle my hands. I got my microphone buried under my shirt. And
it's
we know just how many
because
steps.
you're a blue shirt because you're in Israel.
And we're going to stop not with the Dome of the Rock making me look like I've got a helmet on, but just beyond it. So Carl, the cameraman, has to make sure I know exactly where to stop.
Yeah, the cameraman in this case is Carl Bauer, does a remarkable job at thinking of so many details. And this is talking about camera work. I mean, you're right up with these people here who are really.
And coordinating with our guide, because some days this is action. Look at all the action here.
Now, see the women on the other side of the wall. You'd have to go over there. You'd have to have a woman camera.
So you know that's a man shooting the camera here because you're in the men's quarter of the Western Wall. I hadn't noticed that the women are kind of just looking over the fence.
It's a different part of the wall that they have access to.
But it's certainly a challenge to be in the right spot at the right time because that wall is great for filming a couple times a week, basically.
And here you can see flags are very important. They make statements everywhere you look around here, whether it's Israeli or Palestinian flags.
Oh, and it was cover the script. You know, we had 6,500 words here, and a big part of it was we want to get the Christian dimension. So here we have in the Via Dolorosa, pilgrim groups, Christian groups coming to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and thank goodness we had a second cameraman on this shoot.
Second cameraman, Dean
Cannon.
Cannon, and this was great. He was able to just sit and wait patiently for some of this action to happen because
we're not big enough to schedule this stuff. We just hope somebody's coming through today. And I wanted a good procession, you know, and we got a good procession. And then here we are in this kind of labyrinthine most holy church in Christendom, the church built on the tomb of Christ.
Yeah, one thing that doesn't come across is like the smell of incense. And it's just extraordinary. You can smell the ages through these beautiful, candles and incense, and it's an extraordinary.
And to have Simon and the cameraman free to run around in here for an hour and just get the vividness and the humanness. Look at this. Oh, people, this is one of the 12 stations of the cross. And for, these pilgrims, that's a very important moment to be there with the camera rolling and then to get a high wide shot from above.
Yep.
A Greek Orthodox chapel marks
You're right, you can feel the incense even with the images.
And then here, these people, this could be a trip of a lifetime to come here, and then suddenly they see a camera looking at it. We have to be very sensitive
Look
to
at
that.
the police barriers there. Oftentimes we try to clean things up, but in there, you can only do so much. So we had that.
And here again, we're inside the Holy Sepulchre, and it's just these people are having this moment. And we're not asking them to do it. We're just capturing that.
I couldn't do it, but cameramen have to do that. They have to be bold and kind of in your face with the camera if they're going to get the good footage.
And this is a walkthrough. Just, hey, Rick, walk through the streets. We're going to get a shot of you.
Local voices.
And then local voices. And in this case, we had to. The stall looked nice enough, but we actually ended up spending a lot of time
dressing it up.
That
doesn't look quite that nice,
We put
does
that
it?
big stack of pomegranates to make it look a little better.
And I get to drink a lot of beautiful pomegranate to get the bites here. Sadly for me, our scripts are often too long, and these are the things that get cut because they're not critical to the script, but they're critical to the feel of it.
Here's another walkthrough.
Oh, now this is on this show. We must have shot. What was our shooting ratio? Do you think?
I think this one might have been closer to 30-1, which
Because
for
normally
us
we're
is
about
very,
12
very
or
high.
15 to 1,
Yeah, exactly.
meaning we would shoot 12 hours to get 1 hour's worth of stuff. But if you're not rolling a lot, there's a shot, I think, right here with the little bicycle going by. And how on earth the cameraman got this, but it is just like one of those delicious little moments.
There it is.
Boom. And our beautiful editor, Steve Camerano, he has a rhythm and ties in the music, and he grabs those magic shots.
Steve is an extraordinary editor, and he also brings a sort of a knowledge of religion to it as well. And this, which is really valuable in this show, it was wonderful. He's a great editor, and then you give him this material that we had this extraordinary access. I mean, here we are,
And with the
right
bright
underneath
sun,
the
look at
dome of
how
the rock.
things pop. People say we never shoot when it's raining. Well, darn tootin'. Because when the weather's good, look at the people are out, the colors pop, the beautiful backlit.
Light there. Look at that. It's and then here's this is a sort of a compressed telephoto shot. It was crowded, but the shot can make it look even more crowded than it was.
I was so impressed just by roaming around Jerusalem. What a great city just to be out and about. And this happened to be a market day. And, a big call for us is when are you going to be in a museum? When are you going to be, working in the hotel? When are you going to be out on the streets? And sometimes that's my stress is I want to be out when there's action in the streets.
And this was a short reaction, a short interaction, but it was very sweet, very genuine. You just grabbed it.
While wandering the Muslim quarter, you may see houses.
So again,
You could
these
feel the
are
tension.
Yep.
Those are Israeli flags in the middle of the Muslim quarter.
Muslim quarter, and
To stake out this bit of the old
And try to stay out of the fray and just report, you know. But that's like a fortress of one group, you know, meeting the other group. For me, the challenge, we have all these on cameras to get, and we need, the question is, when do you do voiceover and when do you do on camera? You know, we try to do as much voiceover as possible, but here's something where you have to say it on camera because you couldn't cover it otherwise. But I love this shot because the light's good, the background's cool, there's lots of action, but we have a little eddy here where nobody's in our way, so we have that control.
yeah, we have to try to get control because it's amazing when you do your own cameras. I'm just always amazed. There's so many distractions at times, but you just keep going.
Well, the hardest thing is to be in the middle of a crowd and trying to remember my lines and wondering. But there, I was above the crowd and nobody knew I was there, so it was really a beautiful thing for me.
Here's the wall, which is really, I have to say, is quite an emotional thing to see in the two different sides. It's dramatic to see it in person.
Now, crossing the wall, I didn't know if we could do this with our camera, and I wanted to show tourists that can come across the wall, just like in Tijuana with the local guys. These guys have work permits, so they go into the rich country, do their work, and come home. It took us 4 or 5 takes to get the right crowd with me going through the turnstile, and I thought, is that okay? And our guide said, they don't care. The guard was playing some game on his iPhone. So then I wanted to get a little quick review, and the cameraman's so fast. I say, I'm going to do the on camera here. We've got people in it. And sure, you can cross the wall just like me. We're in Bethlehem.
a leading Palestinian city, is the
That was fun. Talk about contrast, right? I was like,
Oh yeah, it's a
10-minute walk
as
from
soon as you come
California
in,
to-
It is a different world. We had the line about no more yarmulkes here, and at first we were sort of joking, but and the reality is you just cross that border, and it is a different world.
I was very impressed by how it was nervous to go to Palestine first, just like for a lot of Americans. But after we've been there for a few days, you know, you just get used to the broken concrete and the graffiti and the hard scrabble.
Yeah, well, there was
slaves.
certainly very friendly people. I mean, this was a busy time. Again, they were getting ready for a festival, but it was nothing but friendly people here in Bethlehem.
We always have our business class hotel where we can leave our gear, you know, without any worries. But here's a reality here: all the prisoners away from the tourist center.
Yep, you have to be observant and look, and you'll notice some of these little things which can be telling facts about
Yeah.
it's a different.
Hard to establish the Church of the Nativity. You know, this is a very important church, and there's a small Christian community there in Bethlehem. And we wanted to get wide shots to let people know, okay, what we're going to do next. And here we have little remains of the Christian community there. And this is the Nativity Square. And this is about the ugliest church exterior
Yeah.
I've ever seen. How do you set up that church?
That is pretty. It's hard to see. Inside it was.
But that's the
glorious.
church
I
where
mean, but
Jesus,
it was-
on the spot
yeah.
where Jesus was supposed to be born. Wow. I love this when we come into a historic site like this. And Simon and I, we haven't been here together. I've got my idea of what we need to cover. You know, there's the old Roman mosaics. So do we want to include that? So I give Simon a quick tour. And Simon says, yes, no, we'll
Yep,
see.
we have to make decisions.
Yeah, like the art. How much of the art do you have in the show?
Can't include it all.
And then so Simon and I hustle while the cameraman's getting wide shots. And then I got to get out of the picture, turn Simon and the cameraman loose to get the script covered while I figure out what on camera I'm going to do and where it might be. Meanwhile, Simon and Carl are waiting for an opportune time to go downstairs to the holiest spot.
Yeah, once again, here it is. Here are these people having this moment, and they helped us kind of control the traffic of people coming through.
Simon, this is my favorite place for an on-camera. Sitting in a pew, looking back.
The old pew shot.
The
with
pew
old
shot.
Elbow in the back of the chair.
I don't know why. I really like it. Part of it is I'm not squinting into the sun, so you can see my eyes. There's perfect control for the audio, and always a nice backdrop. The cameraman's in control there.
Yeah. It's always, and audio is a big deal. There's always trying to get it so that there isn't too much either music behind or people making.
Now, you guys went into the mosque. I was doing something else. What was it like?
Oh, there's an extraordinary access. We were in the middle of a service here, and nobody seemed to pay any attention to us, even though we had a camera.
And then we
cameras.
made friends with this guy, and he wanted to sit down and talk with us, and this was just a joy.
Yeah, he was just.
We did this more than on a typical show because we really wanted to get local voices because of the complexity of the issues here. And anytime there was a controversial thing to say, it'd be better if we get a local person to say it.
A local voice, and this guy was he was warm and informative, and he just kept talking, and we just kept recording, and then we just chose what we wanted.
It's
to
like
hear from
fishing,
him
though. You
before,
can
but-
sit down with a lot of interviews and not know if you'll get anything, but he was good.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of serendipity. You know, sometimes it works, and sometimes, occasionally, it's a bomb. It doesn't work, but that one worked.
Now, here's every time we have one of my friend, I always say my friend and local tour guide, Kamal Mukuku or whatever, and we always did a long shot like that we let us look at him and introduce him that way.
Oh, I can remember we had to pick up trash on that street to clean up that
I
shot.
was so impressed by that. So we have this crew of 3, and Simon, the producer, is out running around picking up garbage 30 yards away from the camera, just because if you had a piece of garbage there, you'd really regret it.
And one of my pet peeves is when Rick has the script in his back pocket. Get rid of the script, Rick.
There it is.
There it is.
It pops. It's always right, but it's my security blanket.
This was great, just showing the, just Palestinians in family life. I mean, this was real. This is again unplanned. We're just there. They're just he's a father like anybody else.
That's a beautiful thing about any of these shows is to get into people's homes and to connect with real people and give you that intimate experience. No better way than to have a meal in somebody's house.
Yeah, this was great because it was just a big extended family. Everybody's having a good time, but meanwhile, actually, the mother was cooking in the kitchen, and it seemed to be taking forever. And I know she thought that the meal was getting overcooked, waiting for us.
But that's the reality. We're shooting a TV show, and she wants to give us a nice dinner, but we've got to put a curtain in front of the mirror so it's not in the. You can see the curtain on the left upper part there. The mirror is covered, and we need to do it again and again, and we need to have the kids there. It's a complicated thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the other challenge with a family in any time like this is to get people just to relax, just to be totally chilled out when they got a camera. Everybody's like, "Oh, just be natural." But when you've got a camera around, it's hard. It's an
And there's a
ongoing
Coca-Cola
challenge.
bottle there. It's nice to mask the product placement when possible.
Yeah, we tried that. We figured that an Arabic version of Coca-Cola, we could
There
get
you
away
go.
with that.
Yeah. Beautiful people, though. And, Kamal's fiance was there. There you go. And now they're happily married. So
happily
that's
married.
beautiful. That was look at that. It's
Yeah,
the
these-
universal thing, a family sitting down together.
Family, food, friends. It's.
But, as Simon said, the frustration is when you go there, as soon as the camera's off, everything's natural. All sorts of magical stuff happens. Turn the camera on, and it tends to be stiff.
And everybody just gets a little bit nervous. So that is part of our challenge. But Rick's good at that.
Shoot a lot of footage and get a little good stuff and pretend the camera's off and have it keep rolling. Oh,
Yeah.
no, we're going back through the turnstile. Big contrast here. 10 miles
Back
away.
into the
5 miles away,
another
back in
world.
Israel.
It's just again, it's just two quite different worlds right beside each other.
Now, this is an example of covering the script. Again, we just have the everyday necessity to cover the script. And this is one of those people montages, which Simon and the cameraman and Steve do so well.
Yeah, just sometimes it takes a long time to get these shots. You just when they're all edited together, it looks very simple, but just you have to be in the right place at the right time, and it has to be focused. And there's
This one's almost
lights.
like Orthodox Jews with cell phones. Everybody's got a cell phone. Look at everybody's got a cell phone out.
Yeah. And again, you don't really know what you've got until it all gets edited together later on as well. I mean, the camera guys will know they had a few really great shots, but it all has to be looked at and compiled and edited later on.
So we're getting all the different communities: Armenians, Christians, Jews, Muslims, tourists, soldiers.
Soldiers it's always a little tricky with the cameras and soldiers, although I have to say here in this particular filming, they were pretty relaxed. And
I think that was just out the window of a car, but yeah, but like those shots don't just happen. Like Simon said, it takes hours to be on the streets to get the good stuff. Sometimes we just don't have it. But I've learned over 20 years, just relax, Rick. I mean, it takes more than, it's not a slideshow,
It's not a slideshow, as I often will tell my friend Rick, and it takes time. Now this is the case where we had our local guide, who was great, and we had him talk about things which it was just easier for him to talk about some of these cultural insights than for us.
Because I love to talk about things that we all see, but we don't understand. You know, most of us don't understand earlocks or the different kinds of hats or yarmulkes or what are the standards for women being modest and what is this gear meaning, you know, for a Jewish person that would be obvious, but for a lot of viewers they wouldn't know.
And it's again, it's just so much better having a local person interpret special cultural insights like this. It's especially in this particular show, the Holy Land show, that was, I think, a much wiser move. We could say what we think it is or what we've read it is and everything, but it's just...
But I love the way we did this, Simon, because we just shot all the things we wanted to have, is all the puzzles of pieces of the puzzle, and then we sat on a back street with Abby, and we just said, tell us about why people have earlocks, or tell us about standards before you get married, after you get married. Why are the women wearing, you know, hats, or why are the women wearing wigs, or what about the rabbis? The rabbis seem like pop stars when you look at the little shops selling posters, and he would explain all of that.
He would explain it, and then he had again. He was able to make it make sense to us, to even explain what we were looking at, because this is especially in this culture was new to all of us, including Rick, who's, you know, you've been around, you know, Europe for many years, but a lot of this is unusual to us. So it's great to get those cultural insights and learn. It's all about learning.
And there's so much meaning, and I'm just a big fan of having a local guide anywhere I go. You know, anywhere. Norway, Portugal, Iran, Egypt, Portugal. What's that guy's stripes for? There are reasons. Why is everybody wearing black? There are reasons. You know, what's the meaning of a beard? Why is this day busy and that day quiet? I really love this in the little kiosks. They've got all of the posters, and I'd be thinking we got Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake or something like that, but no, you got these guys. And he said, these rabbis each have a following, and they're all like, you know, pop stars. What did he say? Pop stars?
Without the pop.
Without the pop.
I thought that was a great line.
That was a good line. So sense of place, always getting a good wide shot. I always like to work in some travel tips, you know. Oh, the signs are in 3 languages. So that was on my list, and I was always nagging Simon, did you get a good sign that shows Hebrew, Arabic, and English?
We have to stop now. That sign's not good enough. Let's get another one.
We got a lot. You can do a whole show on signs with 3 languages. 3 scripts. Yeah, 3 scripts.
And this is extraordinary. This is a case where the light is just amazing. I mean, it was getting late toward the end of the day. We'd been at
we're coming to Masada.
Masada,
and we wanted the good light, but the reality is the last lift goes down at 7 o'clock or something. So we had 2 cameramen. We left Dean down below to get the wide shots, and we took this gondola up, and we had like an hour before they were going to kick us out. And we had to, this is where Simon and the cameraman will run around and get the shots we need, and I'll try to figure out how to cover the script with any actual specific details. Like I really wanted to show the Roman camp that was out in the countryside and the ramp that came up to the place. And I wanted to find a place. You see the rock in front of my feet there? I think that rock is my stopping point.
This is the case where it's like he placed that rock there. And
there we go.
Come right up to your rock, stop, and then finish your delivery of your lines.
And then I'm always saying, Simon, is that going to pop? Are people going to be able to see that? But there's the Roman camp 2,000 years ago. Does that pop, Simon?
That one pops. Now, this was another case where we were looking at that ramp, and it doesn't jump out at you.
So you got to explain it, don't you?
We had to explain it, and then Rick you were uncertain about.
I was not happy with this, but we were out of time, and I just had to go with it. I've learned to trust you guys because you really know. But look at the way the light puts in. They call it put an edge on me, right?
Yeah,
and the ramp pops,
and the ramp pops, and you were skeptical at the time, but it did work.
Yeah, but my cowlick really shows. That was a scramble because I was so excited.
This was a scramble. This site can get very, very busy, but this was definitely toward the end of the day, and we just.
Now you got an archive. See, that's from Poland. Yeah.
This is the case where we went back to one of our other shows, which.
And after 20 years of doing this, it's nice to have an archive. Because we wanted to set up the whole Holocaust, and of course, when you go to Israel, you have to go to Yad Vashem, and we had our local guide taking us around, and it's like a national memorial there, understandably.
Yeah, and the challenge here, like with all these museums, and this is where you're fantastic, is there's so much to see, and you run around and say the things that jump out at you, and then we have to come back and we have to quickly scout around while the cameraman's getting some shots, and we have to decide, well, can we show that? Will that work? Will that work on TV? And we have to make these decisions.
And then Carl shoots like an editor. He knows what he needs with the heads and the tails and all that kind of stuff. And then I get to grab my favorite places. I was there scouting a year before, and I loved this Hall of Names. So I would take Simon in just for a couple of minutes, and you guys got exactly what I had envisioned with this sort of the Holocaust.
Well, this is
the
definitely
faces.
a case. Museums are really we often restricted with time, and we work together, we collaborate, and we really work together.
I think we blow the museum staffs away when they see how efficient we work.
We were very efficient.
We're in and out of there.
That's true. I think they're used to bigger crews taking much longer, and we just blast.
I had
through
3 photos I really wanted. I love that photo. I love this idea of getting off the boat. This is like Plymouth Rock, 1947 or whatever. And then the guys with the wheelbarrows with just sand dunes ready to build the great country of Israel and the great city of Tel Aviv, and all the emotion and the excitement and hope after the Holocaust. And then we go to Tel Aviv and Jaffa and get to see it today, just what, 50 or 60 years
this
later.
is again quite a change. And in this on camera here, where Rick is actually standing on a rocky breakwater. You cannot see his
This was
feet.
dangerous.
But he's walking, looking like he knows what he's doing, but thinking he could break his ankle at any moment.
And to complicate things, Carla says puncha because I've got a gut and I want to suck it in so I don't look fat. Oh, there's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on. And these are just some of these beautiful shots. The light was beautiful. We were heading somewhere else, and we saw the light on Jaffa, and just said, "Stop the car!" And we sort of ran out and got the shot within the pretty light.
I love that light.
The archival footage is something that I do when we get back home, and we get archival footage from different libraries, and it's really, really powerful. It depends on the images tell a story that is very hard to find any alternative way of telling the story.
Because if we could shoot it there, we would.
Yeah.
This is we only do this when we can't cover it with what's happening today, but what a treasure to be able to dip into that. So now we just had a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours basically, to get Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv was a whirlwind. We just got some of these architecture and a few of these streets. It was
To show a happening place, a young and vibrant. And then I love it when we can just say, okay, we got to get the beach and turn the cameraman loose for an hour on the beach. And,
Again, a great advantage of having a second cameraman on this particular shoot. And
but normally, Simon, it's you and the cameraman, and you're running around with the tripod because we don't have more people. And you probably don't feel good about having the cameraman running around with the camera and the tripod all alone. So you're his support guy.
Yeah. Normally without on our regular shoots, but this is a case where we just let Dean.
We had Dean. Was
run
that
around.
Dean? Mostly
that
Dean
was
on
Dean on that one. Yes.
That was great. Now
a
the
meal.
meal. Every show has a meal, whether it's one of our big documentaries or one of our regular travel episodes. And I just love a chance to show the local food and have local people introduce it.
Yeah, a lot of people. This is the only way they know me. This is my role:
There's
is
Simon's
eating and drinking.
You're always never miss a meal. And here we had, it's a perfect example with this meze, and I kind of set it up, and we talk it over, and then we let our local guy point to everything. We only have one camera.
So we'll often shoot it 2-3 times, and the guides it can be confusing for them. We have to say, well, we have to do that again. We have to do this again. Can you do that? Can you point one more time?
And I always want it a little more concise and a little more guidebooky. So I let them talk it 3 times, and then Simon gets to choose which one he wants.
Yeah, and then we piece it all back together again. Steve, our editor, does a great job. Sometimes he curses us for some shots that we miss.
Oh, yeah. But Simon knows just what we need. Like, we need a piece of the bread. And Carl go, I got the wide shot there. And then after it's all done, they'll let me ask a question that'll be spliced in as part of the whole thing.
Yeah, you can go back and get some of these separate shots.
There's our driver with his cameo. So that was just a lot of fun. A short drive up the coastline takes us to Haifa, a prosperous and open city famous for its tolerance. Many people here are part of Israel's Arab minority. I was impressed at the youthful and positive energy. So we wanted to show Haifa as an example of a modern Israeli town that really is happening. It's multicultural. It's trying to get beyond the baggage. So this was a case where we need to show the character of the town, and Simon and Carl would be out shooting, and I'd be trying to find an interview.
Yeah, and then when we found this family, I mean, the guy just carried on eating his lunch, and we just had this casual conversation.
And it was
amazing.
wonderful. And these were Palestinian Israelis, or what, Muslim, Israeli Arab citizens of Israel. That's an example of there's a right way and a wrong way to say that, according to, depending on whose community you're in. But I have my mic buried. We had to live with bad audio here because we couldn't mic them up. That would make everything more uptight.
Yes, we didn't even really have permission from the restaurant. This is a case where
So the music's going and
yeah, there's music in the background, which is unfortunate, but at the same time,
wonderful people and
Relaxed
and I'm just so thankful we're there, and all I'm thinking about is don't step on our lines.
yes, something that
I've been working on that for 20 years now.
20 years.
I wanna-
You're getting better.
See, I'm thinking don't step on our lines because we're gonna roll a long way and then we're gonna cut it down to 45 seconds.
Yeah, this is a case where we do talk for a long time. In fact, the interview's on the DVD. The interview's great, but not a lot of it makes the show.
So now here's a beautiful reveal. I love a reveal. You follow the
Yeah.
car around, it's a transition, and bam, you've got the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah, no, this was beautiful. This was right here, just to sort of see people just playing in the water, and it seems so far away from all the political strife.
And you guys did a beautiful job of getting the magic. I mean, this is where Jesus walked, and all the pilgrims were there, and so many people there on their own personal faith experience. And for us to be there shooting this is a little bit awkward and beautiful, and it's.
Yeah, it's when
part of the
people
Holy
are-
Land.
When people are having spiritual experiences, it does feel a little intrusive at times. But
Then look at this shot, and then this next shot. I just love with the. This is because we had Dean as the second cameraman.
yeah, there's a little time lapse there. Actually,
And there
on the
it's
Sea of
like
Galilee.
walking on the
It's-
water, calming the storms, all that
kinda
kind of
magic,
stuff.
Yeah.
And then we debate, where is this on camera going to be? I really wanted to be holding the Bible, talking about what happened here, and we wanted pilgrims in the back.
And you're sitting on a very uncomfortable rock, I recall.
I'm gripping this rock with my rear end. It's like I'm just hanging in there. And then we get this
And this
priest.
guy-
I think we set him up to do that. We asked, can you do that one more time? I don't know.
I think he was doing it originally, and then we just asked him to do it again.
And he was
that's-
cool.
And he was cool.
So it's sort of a balance between getting the real thing, but can you do it once again in the sunshine?
Yeah, exactly. Just sometimes we ask just to improve the shot a little bit. We won't invent the shot, but we'll improve it.
Yeah, that's a
Time
good
to
way to
time.
put it. Now you get your positive serendipity and your negative serendipity. I'm so used to that now. And sometimes you're there and, there's a jackhammer, that's negative serendipity. Or there's a pilgrim group coming in. Here's a classic Rick walk in to establish it and a tilt up to show you where you are.
Yep.
Nice
And
transition.
Miraculously fed by a few fish and
Oh, and a lot of times, you're in a spot and you want to establish it properly. Well, look at that. That's a historic Roman mosaic. And there you got your fish and your loaves.
And that's where we had, again, good access. We got right up.
Now here we
there.
jumped out of the car because we got a nice distance shot of the
Yeah.
Church of Beatitudes. Remember, we
We
thought
were
we already
driving.
had one.
We were driving away, and we saw the shot.
We had
and
a
stopped.
mediocre one, but we saw that one. So stop the car, jump
the
out,
car.
and get a better wide shot.
The drivers that we're with sometimes think we're nuts.
Oh, they're the ones that don't get what we're trying to do. And I was just so excited to be here in the Church of the Beatitudes, where the Sermon on the Mount was given, and I wanted it alive. And there just happened to be an amazing group
This is
from
one of these
Nigeria.
serendipitous moments. I mean,
and I scrambled as you guys are getting B-roll, and I talked to the pastor, and I just was kind of pushy, and I said, "We need you. Can you gather your group around and sing like you did half an hour ago?"
Yeah. And here they are. It's this beautiful moment of these people singing their hearts out.
It made a difference, didn't it?
Nothing was pre-planned here. They were there. They were feeling it, and they were singing.
Oh man, and I was thankful because if you go to a church and it's dead, it feels pretty dead on video. So that enlivens it. The Golan Heights.
So this is a place where we decided we wouldn't get out. There's still some landmines and things around, so we had to be careful here. The bullet wounded buildings and everything really sort of shows how serious there's still this area is. And this is up in the Golden Heights. I mean, it's still.
And there you can envision it. You see, this is one thing we try to do is what does Golan Heights mean? Sea of Galilee, Golan Heights, pillbox, war.
We were learning as we went ourselves. I mean, you'd been there on your scouting trip, which
Yeah,
was great.
and it was
but then-
very helpful because I stood on many of these things, and this is the one we came back to a year later. And we interviewed 5 different guides, and Benny was the guy I really liked talking with. And he was a former PR guy for the Israeli military, so he knew what he was talking about.
And it's great. I mean, all the people there, no matter what their perspective is, they believe what they say. I mean, this is the one thing that it comes across.
And if you want to talk about the importance of holding the high ground, you do it right here with that kibbutz down there.
Yep.
And here a man who was down there working in solidarity with his friends who were taking shell shots from the Syrians on the high ground.
Yep, you could. You could get the feeling, certainly, of and he was telling the stories because he was personally he'd experienced this.
But my challenge is I kind of beat him up to make it tight, concise, and Simon says, "Relax, it can roll out and play out, and then you'll edit it down later."
Yeah, that is one of the. Yeah, it's a balance again. Like so many things, is a balance.
So I'm looking at him and smiling and saying, "Be concise, because it won't make the show otherwise."
Can you say that again, just a little bit shorter? But. We don't put words in their mouth. It's usually a matter of taking some words away just to try.
That's the challenge, yeah.
Just to try to abbreviate things a little bit.
Boy, that's a good view, though. And there again, the land. We talked about that earlier, but that shows the land.
And
it's all about the land. And on the land are settlements. I mean, that's pretty powerful imagery.
And that's a case where, the light is, again, very, very important in any landscapes. When the light hits it, they pop. Otherwise, it can just be sort of just lost in the background, especially as a fairly monochromatic scene.
So here we got the green shirt. We must be in Palestine. The mic is hidden. We've got, I'm a little worried about my sunburn. Roughly 500,000 Israeli Jews now live in settlements in Palestine.
None of us really knew what settlements looked like before we went there.
I was impressed how easily we could get into them.
It was very, very relaxed for us to get in there. And, they're very comfortable. You can imagine.
Went into the parks and just made friends with families and shot the kid action at the swings, the malls.
Yeah, I mean, you could be anywhere in the States.
Moderate Israelis oppose construction of settlements in the West Bank. So we knew we wanted to get some extensive interviews for DVD extras on this one, just like we did in Iran.
Yeah, so these guys, we just came across people. Some of them, like in this case, was these are our guides. So we had already had a relationship, but these.
This wonderful couple we just found in the mall. We were just taking a coffee break, and
yeah.
I knew that we had to get some connection with some people to ask some hard questions. And they were having a coffee in the next table, and I just chatted with them. And
they said, "Would it be okay if we, ask you some questions?" And they're very, very articulate, and they're very, and they were
suddenly
very
they're on
open
TV
and,
talking about, is this a settlement? Well, depends on who you talk to.
And say with these guys, this is their house in a settlement, and they were very, very open.
Well, he just bought this house like this week. They were just moving in with his buddy, and it was a new beginning for them.
So this is certainly a case where it was on the fly.
And then, we've got these, the days are pretty much, if the sun's out, we're shooting. And then we had to sit down for a couple of hours just to do these on cameras with our guides, or these interviews, extended interviews. And it was hard to make time for that, but really, that's a beautiful opportunity, both with Hassam and with Kamal here.
And this is a case where, you're good at just listening and listening to what they say and then reacting and then letting them just respond to questions, as...
Well, I've got a real respect for the skill of interviewing. I'm certainly no champ at it, but I can recognize when somebody knows how to interview. I've learned a lot, and it's a fun challenge.
This couple was extraordinary. I mean, they were very open, and they just
very smart.
Very, very smart. And they just had these. Here we are in a shopping mall, and they just telling us.
His great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, and we're still here. We didn't leave.
We do need to find a way to fix it.
You can see the light was failing. It was the light was fading. You can see the light in the building behind us. I can remember it was like that was fairly late in the day.
So you can amp it up to a certain degree with the camera.
Yeah,
and then it starts getting,
and then it starts getting dark. And within the case of an interview with differing light, it's hard when the editing process going back and forth and back and forth.
Well, that's the whole.
This is one time where you had your notes. You had your notes with the guides and everything, which I think was great because you.
Oh, I've always got notes. Even right now, I've got notes under my leg, and I just glance down at them every few minutes because I've got stuff I want to ask them.
I don't think we've seen it yet.
those settlements are making these.
But you guys inventoried it all and laced it together. That was really artfully
Well,
done.
and this is a case where Steve, again, our editor, he just goes, he was the one that helped shape this largely, going back and forth between the, different viewpoints. And it just makes it more interesting because, especially the Holy Land, there are different narratives.
And we didn't want to
wanted-
we didn't want to make the conclusions. We wanted to talk to people to give us context so our viewers could make conclusions as if they had been there.
Exactly. And it's a case of like listening and,
Well, and just getting back to the whole sad situation, these are all good people, but they don't really get a chance to connect with each other because of the heritage and the wall.
Yep, we're sort of the go-between here.
We were the
there's-
go-between, you know. These guys,
They're not talking to each other directly, that's for sure.
now we're just playing with kids in the settlement. I love that. And then we got this gorgeous. Look at the beautiful landscaping and the wonderful architecture.
Now, this is a shot that we came all the way back, especially just to get that one shot.
because we thought we need a pensive shot to
We
just
need a
and that's
pensive
covering
shot
the
to
script.
talk about
This was it, the pensive walk,
two
yeah,
shots.
look at
Pensive,
that.
we came all the way back.
So my command is look pensive.
Because it's a, and
Oh,
this
then here's
is
another
great shot. The light was getting darker
dark.
and darker, and we knew we didn't want to make this map ourselves because that's not our job. And this map is everywhere, so we had to come driving back just to get that map shot, and it was getting very late.
So images just are so powerful in the Holy Land. I mean, anywhere we travel, images are powerful. But if you look at the wall and how it divides people, and I mean, I think, didn't we use, originally I wanted to use the word gerrymander, right, Simon?
Yes, that was.
Because the wall's twice as long as the border. And when you look at it, you can see places that it looks like, but we decided that was too charged of a word, so we wanted to just
Yeah.
say it was, I mean,
the
here,
wall-
there's an example of gerrymandering as far as I'm concerned, the wall
Yeah.
coming out that way. But we had to be real careful with our choice of words.
We're always trying to balance it because, again, we're going to make people angry. We just know it's on both sides.
We met so many good people on both sides of that wall. So many good people. And then writing the script, I mean, is it a wall or is it a fence? It depends on who you talk to. Is it Palestine? Is it West Bank? Is it Judea and Samaria? It depends on who you talk to. Is this guy a hero or is this guy a villain? Well, he's in prison right now in Israel, but different people have different thoughts.
It's just amazing seeing like a shot like this. I can remember just these little kids just going by. I mean, with the wall in the background. I mean, that's their reality. That's their day-to-day backdrop.
So
And
I remember on this one, the rain was just starting.
yeah.
Everything was perfect. What?
you can see
Rain? I didn't
maybe
count on
some
that.
Bits of rain on your shirt if you look really carefully.
And Carl just says, "Okay, do it." And I go, "But I haven't memorized my lines yet."
Be quick.
That was a powerful,
weren't
powerful
expecting
place
rain.
to do that. I love political art, regardless of what it's talking about. It's to me so powerful, and to put people in that context, just it's a beautiful experience to share with our viewers.
Yeah, it's certainly graphically, this side of the wall tells a story, whatever your perspective is.
Yeah.
And once again, we come back to shots like this about the land. It's all and
Look at the land.
Yeah.
Now here's from a process point of view, one of the challenges for me. I always like to walk the whole thing and consider all of our options. And Simon and Carl have been shooting long enough to know that things can change, and if it's really good, let's get it now. But there's so many great options, but if it's good enough, let's get it. Oh, no, that might be better. Let's walk on further. And then it gets worse, and the clouds come, and we lose the sun.
Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes
We played
we're
this
right.
really well, I think.
This worked out well.
And this is the biblical terraces, right?
Yeah, just breathtakingly beautiful, and just knowing they're so ancient. And this is a case where Kamal just was speaking from his heart. I mean, he spoke from his heart. His people, his ancestors have been there for generations, and again, you just realize that the tragedy of this land. It's so beautiful, and they have so much in common.
And Kamal was a good spokesperson. And, for me, these are my sidekicks all over Europe. I've, for 20 years, been working with these guys, and some of them are great on a bus. They're great as tour guides. You put them in front of a camera, and they're worthless. And then other guys are just perfect. Here comes a roll focus. Look at this. Watch.
Give us the olives without even needing us to do
Nice.
anything.
Thank
I guess
you,
that's
Carl.
kind of elementary, but I think that's a beautiful effect.
Yeah, no, you've done an amazing job of all of our shows that we've done throughout Europe. The guides, the quality of the guides just blows me away each time. I mean, they know their local territory, they know their history, they know the people. They just do a remarkable job.
This is one of these beauty sequences that I really appreciate the artistry of both our editor, Steve Camarano, and our cameramen. And we've got a lot. We've had three or four cameramen over the years, and just in this case, Carl and Dean.
Yeah, and this was a case that we just drove right by this little mill making olive oil.
This was an answer to a prayer. I had no
We
idea.
stopped quickly and got out and just ran over and just started shooting this.
And I'm thinking, we got to get to the mosque and get the architecture, and you guys jump in there, and I'm sitting in the car. What's taking you guys? But I know that there's magic going on, and this was, look at that.
This is beautiful. I mean, that is Holy Land oil. And it was a beautiful little sequence, just completely
But you
spontaneous.
got to stop the car and get out and shoot it, and sometimes it doesn't pan out.
No.
Look at the awareness of the cameraman here. You tilt up from the olives to Hebron.
And that was this perfect transition. It worked just ideally.
Very expensive to plant those olive trees for that. Now this is, the Hebron market. I was there a year before. I was blown away at just the point of view of the traveler. The carts coming by, the women with the stuff on their hair. And this is the POV right here. There's me, but then we got the shot of from my eyes going through like this.
Yeah, this is, I mean, sometimes cameras just can't capture a feeling, and sometimes they do.
Now, this was a very interesting on camera because I'd had to do it 3 or 4 times, and there was a 18-year-old with a gun on the other side there, soldiering
Machine
you.
gun.
Finally, he pointed at me, and he said, "Get out of here." It was that kind of nervousness in this town.
That was, Hebron is, you can feel the tension in
Establishing
in this
shot,
town.
and there's the church. It doesn't hardly pop, but that's the mosque and the synagogue that is.
We
where
really
Abraham
have to
is
go out
buried.
of our way to get those shots sometimes. Sometimes they take a lot of time to get those establishing shots.
We
but you
hiked
have
for
to
that,
have them,
didn't we?
Yeah, we went right up above the town.
Now, this was awkward. This was a horrible thing. Garbage on the net above the Arab market from the
And
Israeli
we had
community up
we had
above.
to decide, do we show this? Because it's disturbing. And we decided, well, we do. It's real.
there.
It's there.
It was there a year ago when I scouted it, and it
Yeah.
was there when we came back. POV through the turnstile, the no man's land.
This was a little bit again tense. There's soldiers in those little pillboxes, and you could feel that we weren't that popular in certain parts of Hebron.
Now, so
as a
there's
film crew.
that didn't pop very well, but that was the establishing shot, and now we're in the mosque. And I love the way Simon can talk to people and say, "Can you help us? We need like this woman.
Yeah.
We need a woman to.
Ask.
If you didn't have that woman to walk up to there,
So
wouldn't be
yeah,
quite
that
right,
was a request. I just asked her. And
you were
she-
good."
And then suddenly this makes this shot look like the point of view of her.
I love that. That made a huge difference.
And now this is
Now, we didn't know how, this is just on the other side of the bulletproof glass, the synagogue. And we were in there with our little camera, shooting away as tourists, and nobody really,
yeah.
we were welcome to be there. And maybe we didn't need to think might not be welcome to, but I didn't know.
I think because we'll often sort of think that if we do a respectful treatment of a sensitive subject, that people won't take issue with us.
Yeah.
And I think that applied quite a bit here in the.
If
Holy
anybody
Land.
gives us flack, 9 times out of 10, it's because they think we might be doing something disrespectful, as a lot of people do.
For centuries, Jews were generally not allowed to worship here. Then, after the Israeli victory in the War of 19...
And look at how Carl had me stop just between the chandeliers. That makes a huge difference, I think. That was a good frame.
Yep.
That was a good frame. And it took me a long time to realize that just 2 inches of where I stop can make it between a good frame and a bad frame.
Since then, this holy space has been divided, emblematic of the difficult challenges that permeate the Holy Land.
As a visitor traveling from Palestinian city to city on fine modern freeways, it's easy to
There's the wall again with from a.
Oh, another
different
roll
perspective.
focus
There's a
coming
roll
on here.
focus.
I'm getting good at
That's-
anticipating those.
There we
oh,
go.
look at that. Now that lets you know something's going on
also-
here. Israel was granted sections of the West Bank various degrees of autonomy.
General landscape and cityaways. I mean, Dean, our second camera, would run around and get some of these shots, and some of them we have to share our time between getting some of these beauty shots and working with you and doing your own camera. Sometimes you're away.
Yeah. Well, like
getting
this,
your lines.
there was an on-camera, I think, coming up here where we're right at a checkpoint, and yeah,
this one
and
here.
it's nerve-wracking here. We don't know if there's a guy in that checkpoint or not. Simon's my consultant for style. Roll up your sleeves. You look better than a nerd with your long-sleeve shirt on in the
It's
countryside.
ironic that I am a style consultant. I am not known. I am kind of a scruffy Kiwi myself.
I like
but-
your style suggestions. Here's a good high-wide on a practical way to cover something in the script.
Yeah, I remember stopping the car and running all the way down the road to get that shot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes on our list, and we had it probably good enough somewhere else, but we got it better there, right?
yeah. That's one of the things that we do. Sometimes we stop in crazy places on the road. We have to be careful.
Here's another thing: that's a
That's a
time lapse. So
time-lapse.
we had the second camera. Now we had to hike all the way down there, and this is
Yeah.
quite physically demanding with all the gear. I'm glad Simon takes good care of his talent. I don't have to carry anything because we're not supposed to hurt me or wrinkle my clothing. But we have to hike all the way down, and I like hiking down and then shooting on the way out. Look at that frame there with the cross popping and so on.
This is.
I love it.
It was worth a hike because we were sweating. a
And then this is
little
good.
bit
Cue
on
the
this one,
donkey.
yeah.
See the donkey,
The
and
donkey.
then I walk in, and then we tilt up to the monastery.
Now, this is a case once we got up to the monastery, I remember it was extraordinarily sort of sacred with these monks, and that being one of the monks there, they did not want to be shown on camera.
Not at all.
And
They would sing for us.
Yeah, they were really helpful. They were welcoming to us, but they did not want to be.
We had
seen on
perfect
camera.
access. That was
So-
the holiest place, holiest corner in the whole place, and we could go there
Exactly.
with their camera. They lit the candles, but they would not be there. Right now, they're singing behind the cameraman.
It was a beautiful, beautiful little location with a lot of history. You can just feel
It's
it.
disappointing with me because I was there a year before, and there was a magical pilgrimage experience going on, and we came in, and there wasn't a lot. But,
And that's
you
one
know,
of the things that comes up. Sometimes you see things one way, and,
And
then
it-
what it was is like
and
when
it
we arrived at the
disappoints me.
camera, yeah.
And here's another thing: we wanted to get Bedouins and camels, but how do you book that? Well, if you see camels, you stop the car.
Stop the car.
And we visited several Bedouin camps and just ventured down in there.
Yeah, we just walked down the bank. I can remember I went down there with the cameraman, and
We're kind of
and we got
blindsiding
invited
these
in.
people.
Yeah, they
But they're very
had
cool.
no idea, and they got look at this shot of that little baby in their tent, and nothing. We didn't even have the guide helping us through there.
That's right. Beautiful
And
people.
that's
Beautiful
enough.
people. Now, this was a case where we had something in the script. We wanted to get Bedouins, but Bedouins are not roaming around anymore. They're under roofs like this. So I had to get adjusted to that. And we came here, and Simon and Carl really managed to get every element of
Yeah,
the
but it
modern
was
day
a
element.
case where we changed our thinking a little bit. We were all expecting sort of Bedouins under a tent. But,
Yeah.
so we had to sort of like adapt to the
And
reality.
I've been thinking about this for a year. Watching the man of the house roast coffee with a reverence for tradition is mesmerizing. But that's the reality.
It's the reality. I mean,
But
this
he is he's roasting his coffee like they always have right there.
Yeah.
So that's real.
but we had to change our thinking and adjust the script accordingly, and I think it worked out well. I mean, he was a beautiful man.
And with one camera, and he's just, Carl says, "Can you do it again?" And we put the camera there, and we, "Can you do that one more time?" And Carl always has to say, "Excuse me, the camera is slow."
Yeah, that's his line.
But when we
And this
shared
is-
that coffee, it was a real beautiful moment. We
Yeah,
were
your-
friends there. That was I could feel
your
that
pencil's
heritage.
in your pocket. You see, you're supposed
My
to-
pencil's in
Yeah,
my
that
pocket.
Traveling deeper into the
All right, there's a good transition shot. Where are we going? Below sea level.
Below sea level.
This shot was, we had to park the car, negotiate the hotel, climb to the top of the hotel roof, and get one shot, Jericho.
Just for that one shot. It did take some time.
And
And
it's
it-
worth it, You got to have that wide shot.
We're nearly 1,000 feet below sea level.
And the fine town of Jericho.
Oh, and that was in our script.
We came
This is-
across this guy just.
He's doing his work there. We say, just be busy. And I shoot it. You go, oh, figs. Let me try one.
Trying to work with him with broken English and very broken Arabic.
And one camera, so we have to do it
One
3 times. Like a tight shot. Move your hand down there. Grab another one the same.
He's wondering what on earth we're doing.
And then we're on. But that's the dreaded interact command. I mean, it's when I'm without a crew, it's fun to interact. But when you're with a crew and you're mic'd up and the light is a concern, yeah.
Well, speaking of light, this was just gorgeous. This was at the end of a the long day. I think we'd been up in Masada, and we're heading along with the Dead Sea. The light
This
was
is like
just gorgeous.
8 o'clock. We're
Yeah.
bushed. It's been a brutal day, and I anticipated going to the Dead Sea the next day at high noon, and I didn't even think about the harshness of the light. But we came here now, and people were barbecuing.
Yeah, we saw this group first of all, and we thought, oh, well, that's fantastic. These guys
Yeah.
are wrapping up the day, and we thought,
And I
oh,
thought, you guys are going to get these silhouettes.
well, we were happy getting these shots, and then suddenly you come running up over the cliff. Carl and I were like, what's he found? And then you're waving at us,
And I'm thinking tomorrow on the script, I'm thinking 3 sequences that we cover tomorrow, and look at that.
and then you discovered this little scene.
And I'm thinking, I don't have to float in the Dead Sea anymore. Now we got these guys doing it so beautifully. Look at that.
So even though it was really late, and at the end of the day, you can see the late afternoon light on the mountains. All this was happening in this sort of ethereal late afternoon light.
It's got to be that early, that twilight almost, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's late. And you guys, I got to say, I can be a little frisky, Energizer Bunny. You guys are carrying the gear. And when it presents itself, you shoot it. And
was
I'm really
worth it.
thankful for that. I was-
Oh, no, this
now
was the
here,
case, yeah. This was a little bit.
this is dicey. This is our first day in the West Bank, and we're shooting stuff that's on borders. Like, we wanted to get that's in the script.
So
and
we stop the car, we
Yeah.
get out with the cameras.
the policeman's walking over to say, "Who are you?" And the cameraman's rolling. We got it. And then he said, "Be on your way, boys."
Yeah, these anytime you're shooting any
This
of
kind of
these locations to do with security, somebody will be on you very, very, very quickly.
Now, this is Nablus, and Nablus is a very rough and tumble town, and to be in there on a busy market day like we were, and all the people out and about,
Just amazing to be in some of these towns that you hear about in the news, Nablus and Ramallah and Hebron and everything, and then just suddenly to actually be there and to make observations and look around and see what it's really like.
Has walls crusty with political posters. These young local men, considered terrorists.
I love the challenge of these scripts, and we leave home with a basic structure figured out and a rough idea. But boy, I'm so thankful now that we're letting the scripts evolve with what we experience as the process unfolds.
As these posters fade,
And again, we were sort of writing the script as we were there. We were trying to think, well, a lot of the posters really are truly faded and tattered and torn, and we sort of ask and
Our feeling was
Rewrite a
people
little bit?
realize violence is not the answer.
many towns display.
Well, just like we wanted to show settlements in Israel, we wanted to show refugee camps in the West Bank.
yeah, and these key icons really are everywhere. It's
In the political graffiti, or in the political art like that, the key, the broken wall, the olives, the Mount of Olives.
and I can remember each time you see one of these, you have to get out of the car and get the shot, and then
Now here we go. This
them
is
all
a great.
together.
I love these kind of on cameras because the cameraman's really far away. People just think I'm some nut talking to myself, which is really helpful for me because they don't know there's a camera there.
And this was another guy that we just came across, very, very passionate for his perspective, and we just talked to him out on the street. Unfortunately, some of the audio wasn't very good. This is a case where, again, we get challenged with the audio in the field because we don't have an audio person with us, which is a conscious decision, but it does have its drawbacks occasionally.
When I say we're a crew of 3, the first question people who know TV productions, what do you do for audio?
Yeah.
Because we are a crew of 3 normally. You, the producer, the cameraman, and me. And that means you and the cameraman have to think about a lot of things. You're wearing a lot of hats.
And audio is definitely one of the things that gets sacrificed a little bit on occasion. But in general, I think we do pretty well.
I had such a beautiful visit to Balata, the biggest refugee camp, a year earlier as I was scouting, and to bring the crew back. It was just a great opportunity, and I wanted to show the intensity and the density of the population by walking down a main street, and this was it. The children, the reality, the heritage, the violence, the frustration. What a poignant mix.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. For me, this was my first time there. And
And when the school let out,
quite
the United
amazing.
Nations school, drop everything. This is great shooting.
this is classic serendipity. This was just a moment we had no idea was going to happen.
And whenever
Surrounded
I
by-
want to play fun with kids, I can do the thumb wrestle
Yeah,
and the
classic.
and the high
Rick
fives.
Steve's thumb wrestle with kids shot. Yeah, no, it's quite an amazing place to be in to film, and this was a
And there's another thing I saw the year
know
before.
This was near and dear to your heart. You had talked about you had seen this on your scouting trip.
I wanted the whole gory step-by-step thing, but Simon,
And
thank
we cut it
goodness. No fop in the centrifuge, but there we
We-
go. We also saw a camel head hanging in a butcher, which I thought would be interesting.
I consider myself the
The savior of the show.
savior of good
Let's stop
taste
Rick
from
from
time
shooting
to time.
himself in the foot.
no camel heads, please.
And then a fade to black. I like those fade to black. It's just the end of a chapter or paragraph. And next day, that was like at the Starbucks on the side of the town before a road trip, but we didn't have enough time in the show to do that sequence, even though we shot it, right?
Yeah,
We
did-
shot a
did
beautiful
shoot it
sequence about the coffee
with
on the
coffee.
road.
Not everything makes it.
But now we're going to Ramallah, and that was, we called this the de facto capital of Palestine, and the Palestinians didn't want that, so they were quite upset about that.
That was one case where they were quite upset about that, and again, I think because we've made people on both sides a little bit angry. I think we
got the State of Palestine Ministry of Interior in Ramallah, so we're calling it as we see it, really,
Yeah.
de facto capital. But they didn't want to be credited in the credits in the show because of
No,
that,
it
I
was a
think.
decision that they made because of some of the things that we said. So
But it was beautiful to go there and to see the importance of their history and their statesmen and so on.
And this is always this was delicate, talking about Yasser Arafat. As you say in the script, for some people he's a hero, and other people he's a villain. But it's quite a special location when you're there.
Yeah. But to see the young generation, the future, and the positive dimension of the country, it was just beautiful. And both in Ramallah, the most cosmopolitan city, and then we also wanted to head out to the university.
Well, and I think these are images that definitely most Americans never get to see of,
Right.
of Palestine. I mean, these are images that were new to me to see some of these images. And
Establishing shot of the
modern-
biggest university, and step onto this, it's just like a university in America, except different fashions.
Absolutely, and everybody was sort of young and modern, and we found these women as spokesperson, and they were not handpicked by the university.
These are just like friends of our guide.
Absolutely.
And all I asked for, I want to talk to some students, some women students here, some who wear a scarf and others who don't. We wanted to ask them about what their education was like and what their heritage and their
So
parents.
this just all unfolded for all of us. We're all just sitting there, as you asking questions, the cameraman sitting there. It was fascinating, just getting the perspective from these three young women.
That was so delightful to talk to them. And I wish every traveler could have a chance to sit down in a university campus in a complicated land and talk to the future of that country.
Yeah, well, hopefully there is a brighter future in this, because it's so
remember-
complicated there.
It was so hot, and I remember telling Carl, "You need to make these girls sit in this heat for half an hour as we talk." But Carl knew that this is the shot we'd get, and it was beautifully lit, and it was quiet,
That was quiet.
and
Again,
that really helps.
yeah, you got to get away from all the other people and people jumping around in the background trying to get into the camera shot and just noises that are distracting. So
There's so much going on. If you can limit the stuff you can't control, like people jumping in and extra audio problems, because there's enough just with my performance and Carl's performance.
And this is a case where we had to try to make sure that each of the women had something to say as well. And again, this goes back to Steve, the editor. Afterwards, we have this big long interview, and we sort of shorten it down. We didn't want to have just one say more than the others. We had to sort of balance it. They all had good things to say, which was great.
Look at those shots. Now, this is the montage. And Simon, some shows have a montage and others don't. Why? How do you make
Yeah,
that
just
decision?
sometimes in our regular shows, especially if we've jumped around a lot, I think we do these big sort of montages, just like this one here, where we wrap it all up with but in this case in particular,
You
it was
really need
all
to
about
wrap up.
the thoughtful writing, and this is that you were so good at is coming at like, what have we learned from this hour-long show?
It was one of the most challenging and gratifying writing experiences I've ever had in well over 100 scripts.
Yeah, this is, I think it was truly, between this one and the time that we went to Iran,
Yeah.
these are our most rewarding, sort of intellectually shows that we've had because
There he is.
they
Oh,
challenge
God,
us.
Jeez, what a amazing! I was so privileged and honored and thrilled to be able to be a part of that, sort of introducing a lot of our viewers to a place that we really don't understand with our media environment here, and then to cover it in 12 or 14 days was a beautiful challenge, and we just had enough time, but we really had to be on the ball. For instance, the on-camera close we did on the first day of our shoot.
Yeah, this is actually on our very first day, and you can see your script in
Yeah,
your back pocket.
didn't you see
there
that?
again.
Yeah.
I saw that. I still must have been a little bit jet lagged. I missed.
But that worked out. That's a nice spot for the script because we wanted to finish on an up note, not in a
Yeah,
in something
because
depressing.
hopefully-
There's hope. We wanted to have hope.
We wanted to have hope.
Keep on traveling. Shalom, salam, and peace.
You know, it's fun at the end of the shows to do our outtakes, but for this show, I think that was inappropriate.
No, I put the emphasis on the people who helped us, and we have audio by Clarendon. They do a great job, and John Davidson does an amazing job with color, and Aaron's our great assistant editor, and then all the other people in the office. I mean, it's not a huge crowd of people, but everybody works together, and we're very grateful.
It is a great team, and it's such a privilege to be able to put these shows together. And Simon, why don't you take us out this time?
You're Rick Steves. I'm Simon Griffith. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep on traveling. Ciao.